So my name is Walter Haugen, and I'm from FA Farm, which is out on Bar Road, west of Ferndale. And I'm going to talk about favas today. This is a fava, and this is a fava. And favas they're not a real bean, they're a vetch. But people eat them just like beans. And this is a variety called Banner. This is a variety called Windsor. And what you do is you take either one and you open them up, and you take that bean right there, you blanch them for a couple minutes, and then that causes the outer shell to split, and then you actually have this inner bean. Okay? So what you're doing is you're double shelling. Now the reason I have two different kinds of favas is because they're also a very good cover crop. They fix 170 to 200 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Now if you want to grow a good crop of corn, you need about 80 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year. So favas will give you enough nitrogen in your soil for 2 crops of corn. So they're really good in your rotation. Okay, so in October, last year I planted these guys. They came up a little bit, then they sort of stopped during the winter, and then they started again in spring, and then pretty soon the plants were 10 feet high, and I started harvesting them. Now I could have actually plowed them in the spring and then put another crop at that ground, but I thought I'd get the crop of the favas. And I sell them for $2 a pound, and they have the equivalent, they're as good of a crop cash-wise as potatoes. They're real cheap, easy to grow, they're cheap, and they're the kind of thing that people in third world countries, in the Mideast, and in Europe, they eat these a lot. And I have some recipes here that people can get recipes. And this is what the plant looks like. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, sorry.
This is what the plant looks like. Sometimes they grow in a clump like this. Sometimes they grow singly. But you can see that what they do is the bean grows up like that. And like I say, they're real easy. You can go down a row and pick these real fast. They fix nitrogen. They're cheap. They're cheap for the consumer. They're just a real good bean. So, any questions?
You forgot to mention how delicious they
Oh
are.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're excellent.
And nutritious.
Yeah.
And I have a son-in-law from Algeria, and I've been to Algeria, and they use favas a lot in their cooking. Mm-hmm. They use it in what's called jouaz, which is their stew that they make on a daily basis with lots of wonderful herbs and spices and vegetables. And favas are often the basis for that because they're a nice meaty vegetable that gives you a lot of bulk and fiber and really fills you up well and gives you tremendous nutrition. So all through the Mediterranean they use them. They even eat them raw early on, and there are a lot of different kinds of recipes for cold fava beans served cold after you've blanched them. And most of them are, again, Middle Eastern, and usually involve a lot of olive oil and a little bit of lemon and things like cilantro and olives. Couscous goes really well with favas, and you can just invent your own. Also, it's a lovely Italian vegetable. It's used in minestrone. It's used in a lot of spring recipes. They cook it a lot with asparagus because it comes on at the same time. And they even cook it with artichokes. So, and you can mash it up, exactly. Yeah, there's a recipe, a Middle Eastern recipe for mashed favas that's wonderful. I've even eaten it, one of my favorite fava bean recipes, I don't know the recipe for, but the Ethiopians do a wonderful fava bean dish. And if you've ever gone to an Ethiopian restaurant where you eat on the fermented bread, try ordering order the favas as one of your dishes, because they are excellent, really exquisite. So it's I think we're really trying to introduce Americans to this as a really good part of their diet, especially as food costs increase. It's easy to grow here. It's extremely nutritious. It is just something that I think that other countries of the world who have had to deal with figuring out how to eat well from the land and not spend too much money have, over hundreds of years, thousands of years, learned that this is one of the better vegetables to use. So
It's really good for sustainable farming practices.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as part of my rotation, where I grew the favas this year and took the crop off, next year will be really good for corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not only is it wonderful to eat, but it's also really wonderful for the soil.
Does it have any like biodiesel potential?
I bet
That I don't know.
You can
Oil
ask
or-
Kirk.
Yeah, he's the biodiesel
He is the
guy.
biodiesel guy.
Okay.
But with the biodiesel, what they're doing in Europe, usually it's a brassica or some sort of mustard, like canola, for instance, because then it produces a seed that has a high oil potential. These seeds don't really have a high oil potential. It's more starch and carbohydrate rather than oil.
Seeds. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they have tremendous amounts of biomass too. The favas that I put down last fall were 10 feet high, and these only go about 4 feet high because they're bred more for the pod. And most chefs, when you say you got favas, they're expecting this. But I've been selling quite a few of these to restaurants in Seattle this year, and they love them. And then
They're actually a very nice tasting bean.
let me show you. Yeah, these are what the dried beans look like right here. Put it for the camera. And these are actually drying on the pod right now. I just picked these a few days ago and let them dry a little bit, but most of them were already dried on the pod like this. So it's not a crop where they all comes on at one time. You know, you get a staggered sense. We've been eating them in the shell there like that for a month and a half now. So it has a good potential, a long window for the shelling. Plus you have the dried beans which you can eat in the winter, etc. You bet. Yeah.
Well, you know, they are.
My pleasure. Thanks, Peggy.